Thank you for joining us for this look at some of the best stories from KPBS News this week. I'm Amitha Sharma. Coming up, how far should cities go in clearing homeless encampments? Lawmakers in Sacramento reject an idea modeled after a new San Diego ordinance. A calling to serve as a volunteer, and a chef. Meet a local woman cooking up warm meals for those slowly rebuilding their homes after January's flood. And young engineers show their competitive spirit. See how several local high schoolers are taking part in a national competition this weekend. We start with the KPBS investigation. A wrongful termination lawsuit filed by a former nurse at the Otay Mesa Detention Center claims chronic understaffing is resulting in poor medical treatment for immigrants. Lawyers told KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis that some of these problems have existed for years.
The federal government is required by law to provide medical care to immigrant detainees. But lawyers for detainees have long complained that care at the Otay Mesa Detention Center is often substandard. Now, a former insider at the facility is making similar claims. It was Jerome Oliva's job to supervise nursing staff and ensure that they provide high-quality medical care. Laura Walker is her lawyer.
She acted as the bridge between the nursing staff and the management and administration. And throughout that position, she was privy to complaints that were being made by the nursing staff.
The complaint, which was filed in February, alleges that management routinely understaffed the nursing unit, often leaving just 2 nurses available for a population of 1,500 detainees.
They were severely understaffed, and that caused a lot of trickle-down problems with the care of the detainees and the patients involved there.
The complaint describes multiple examples of poor medical care. In one case, a detainee developed cellulitis from an open wound that got infected and was not treated properly. Walker says that when Oliva brought these complaints to management, she faced retaliation and was ultimately fired. The detention center is managed by the private company CoreCivic. Court documents show that CoreCivic denied all allegations and raised various defenses in the lawsuit. Spokesperson Ryan Gustin declined to address any of the specifics in the allegation, but issued the following statement, quote, "While generally it is our policy not to comment on matters involving litigation, I can share with you that at the Otay Mesa Detention Center, our dedicated medical staff work hard to provide immigration detainees comprehensive medical and mental health care," unquote. Gustin says the facility is accredited by the American Correctional Association and the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. He also says that all the medical staff at the Otay Mesa Detention Center are licensed and accredited professionals who provide the highest standards of care. Immigration and Customs Enforcement also maintains full-time staff on site who monitor conditions at the private detention center. The facility has regularly passed ICE inspections. In a 2022 facility inspection, investigators wrote, quote, "Overall, the detainees were very content with their current condition," unquote. However, that inspection was conducted in 2021, and ICE has not posted any recent inspection reports online. KPBS asked for the 2023 and 2024 inspection reports, but ICE did not produce them. Advocates say this lack of transparency is very concerning.
But we haven't seen some of the reports in years, so it really makes us concerned of why they're not being transparent, why we keep hearing from our clients that they're not being seen when they request medical appointments.
That is Priscilla Merida, a staff attorney with the immigrant rights organization Al Otro Lado. She says Oliva's complaint validates stories of poor medical treatment that she has heard from her clients for years.
Clients have told me that they're requesting to see a doctor. They put in their request early in the morning I think they have to sign up on a list, and they're waiting, hoping to be seen that day, but they're not being called until 2 weeks later.
Paulina Reyes Perariz agrees. She is another immigration lawyer who also has clients detained at Otay Mesa.
It's things that advocates, immigrant rights advocates, lawyers have raised before. And I think this is a good showing of, it's not something that it's being made up. It's something that's systematic issue.
Both lawyers say that they hope Oliva's lawsuit results in better conditions for migrants detained at Otay Mesa. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
This week, we're also covering the conditions inside San Diego County jails. Advocates are worried about the well-being of detainees struggling with mental health issues. A recent state audit found local jails have one of the highest rates of inmate deaths. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco spoke to concerned families.
Relatives of those who have died in custody or who have loved ones grappling with mental health issues behind bars gathered outside the Central Courthouse in downtown today. They were voicing their concerns over the inadequate mental health care and growing number of in-custody deaths in San Diego County jails. David Settle's brother, Matthew Settles, was schizoaffective. He died in custody at the George Bailey Detention Facility in August 2022.
He was delusional. He was off his treatment. He was needed the help to get stabilized. Mom and I and his family, we feared that would be a death sentence for him, and it absolutely was. The jails are not at all, able to handle the mentally ill.
A survey found 40% of San Diego County arrestees reported being diagnosed with a mental or psychiatric disorder, and about 25% use psychiatric medication. Cheryl Canson stood holding a poster board decorated with photographs of her two sons who are imprisoned, one suffering from paranoid schizophrenia and another with bipolar disorder. She says tighter policies could reduce jail deaths caused by drug overdoses, lack of medical care, and suicides.
Overdoses continue to happen. My son got a heroin addiction inside prison. He didn't have it before he went in. So how are these drugs, how accessible to them?
San Diego Sheriff Kelly Martinez and former Sheriff Bill Gore have consistently declined requests to subject deputies to drug scans. Supporting the families were advocates pushing for changes in the jail system to better assist inmates struggling with mental health issues. They say that behind bars, people with mental health conditions often face neglect, abuse, or even death. Yusef Miller is Executive Director of North County Equity and Justice Coalition.
We cannot arrest our way out of mental health crisis. We cannot punish our way out of mental health crisis. That we need change in San Diego County jails. We have been the highest in custody death rate for a very long time running, and it is a shameful record that we still currently hold.
Sheriff Kelly Martinez has a $500 million plan to upgrade jails and decrease deaths in custody. But San Diego still maintains one of the highest rates of inmate deaths in the state. 185 lost their lives from 2006 to 2020, according to a state audit. An additional 36 people have died since its release in 2022. Gina Burns is a mother facing the daunting reality of having two incarcerated sons with severe mental illness. Alongside other families, their collective message to Sheriff Martinez and county officials is clear.
Kelly Martinez, I'm holding you accountable for all these deaths and all this trauma that's been based on these people with severe mental illness, including my sons. Accountability means change, and change needs to happen.
Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
A California bill to expand enforcement of homeless encampments was shot down this week. It had bipartisan support from two local state senators. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn says it was based on the city of San Diego's unsafe camping ordinance.
Walking around downtown San Diego, there is a noticeable reduction in homeless encampments. Republican State Senator Brian Jones says it's because of San Diego's unsafe camping ordinance passed in June 2023.
The number of homeless individuals in downtown San Diego has been reduced by over 60% from May 2023 to this March. We simply cannot continue allowing people to camp at our transit stops or in front of our schools. This is a public health and public safety crisis.
The state bill would ban encampments in what he says are sensitive areas, such as schools, parks, and major transit stops.
San Diego has moved, I believe, thousands of people off the streets of San Diego, made those areas safe now for the public, young kids, elderly, to use those areas, those public spaces.
This is the second time Jones has introduced this bill to the state Senate's Public Safety Committee. Based on the committee's objections last year, Jones updated the bill to reduce the distance where encampments are banned from 1,000 feet to 500 feet. Also this year, Democratic State Senator Catherine Blakespeare of Encinitas co-authored the bill. She signed on because of the touted success of the San Diego ordinance.
Saying that there are places that people cannot camp, and then there are places where people can camp. That's what we need to be saying, because people deserve to live inside, and living in an encampment is just not humane.
Great Angel, CEO of Interfaith Community Services in Escondido, agrees, but says unhoused individuals need a place to go.
One of the issues with the proposed legislation is that it doesn't create additional resources. It doesn't create additional pathways out of homelessness.
He says the bill doesn't address the root cause of homeless encampments. People do not have a safe place to go. As part of its unsafe camping ordinance, the city of San Diego created 2 safe camping sites. Critics says the bill criminalizes homelessness.
Just because individuals that are unhoused make people uncomfortable does not mean that it should be criminalized. And this bill does that.
Jones says the bill was not intended as the solution to homelessness, but a solution. The bill again died in committee. But the streets of downtown San Diego provide a stark reminder that homelessness remains a problem without a solution. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The Tijuana River has been named one of the 10 most endangered rivers in the country, according to the conservation group American Rivers. John Carroll says progress is being made to clean things up, but a lot of work remains.
The Tijuana estuary is a remarkable place, the largest remaining coastal wetland in Southern California. It is home to more than 370 types of birds and multiple endangered species. But the tens of millions of gallons of sewage that flow into it daily from the Tijuana River is disgusting, laden with human waste and harmful chemicals.
Once you learn what's really in the water and that it's making people sick, that it's so bad that it's entered the air and impacting air quality, that people can't stand in their front yards in this community without getting sick, that's pretty bad.
Being out here in this spectacular setting of the Tijuana estuary, it can be hard to get your mind around what's actually going on out here. The Surfrider Foundation's Sarah Davidson says one person taking a tour last year put it well when she said it is both beautiful and horrifying.
Over 100 years of transboundary pollution coming through the watershed, through multiple entry points, that's gotten significantly worse in the last 5 to 10 years and is worse now than it's ever been.
At a news conference today to announce the designation by American Rivers, multiple speakers from different organizations acknowledged some progress is being made. On top of $300 million allocated in 2019, San Diego's congressional delegation recently secured another $156 million to make repairs to and expand the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant.
The funding's great, but I don't think it's enough.
Mario Ordóñez Calderón is the co-founder and executive director of Un Mar de Calores. The nonprofit works to increase access to the ocean for marginalized youth. The pollution here directly impacts his organization's mission. Children who live in Imperial Beach can't surf here.
We realized that we were going to have to transport Imperial Beach IB students from their local beach, which is a mile away from many of them, down the street from many of them, all the way up to La Jolla Shores or North County, San Diego.
Everyone here today says they hope the designation of the Tijuana River as among the most endangered, most polluted, will continue to draw the attention of lawmakers, to continue the fight to turn this environmental disaster into what it once was, a jewel of the Southern California coastline. They're urging everyone to contact their state and local lawmakers to finish the work. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Nearly 3 months after the January floods, Shelltown residents are still in limbo. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson says the tragedy knit them together and became a calling for a volunteer from outside of the neighborhood.
In a cramped kitchen, Iso Rosales cooks. Chicken and pork, rice and beans, potatoes and carrots. 50 pounds of it. Rosales lives in El Cajon. She began bringing hot meals to Shelltown weeks after the January flood devastated the neighborhood just north of National City. Like many in the county, she was removed from the impacts of the flood.
I knew it had rained, but I didn't know the damage because I don't like to watch the news.
But she started to see images of the destruction on Facebook. She's a single mother of 3. She cooks for multiple small businesses she runs, but she felt compelled to help.
And I just started to pray, like, how can I be used?
Her first trip to Shelltown brought new reality to the images.
I cried as soon as I got there because I couldn't understand the devastation in the streets.
Rosales couldn't fix everything she was seeing, but for her, a hot meal is family.
I try to celebrate with people even in the darkest times. Food does that for us.
Many Shelltown residents still don't have working kitchens, no stoves or sinks. They improvise with portable cooktops and microwaves.
For them who have gone through a traumatic experience like that, and every other aspect of their life is in limbo, but they don't have a hot meal at home. They can't prepare a hot meal to sit at the table with their family.
Rosales began working with a community organization, Herencia Hispana, to cook hot meals for the neighbors. She got to know Beba Zarate, who hosts the meal distribution. Now, she drives to Zarate's house and sets the table for Shelltown neighbors. They gather like family. The disaster feels more recent than 3 months ago. Sandbags still pile on the sidewalk. A large dumpster sits in the street. To show how high it flooded on January 22nd, Zarate points several feet up her wall.
It is like a horrible movie. Everything was like dark. It was mud all over. It was all the trash. Even it was dead animals there. It was like a nightmare in the middle of the morning.
Her house is mostly empty of personal belongings, all lost to the flood. But donations for distribution to flood survivors are piled to the carport ceiling. President Joe Biden declared a major disaster a month after the flood. There are 2 days left to apply for FEMA assistance, up to $42,500 per household for housing assistance, repairs, and property loss. But there are citizenship and immigration requirements. And though FEMA has helpline operators, Zarate says it can be hard for some of her neighbors to navigate the process. Zarate has lived in her house for 25 years. The street it's on connects to a freeway and an elementary school. She says it used to be filled with traffic and children. Now,
this is like an empty street, like a ghost street.
Many families lost their homes entirely. The county moved them into hotels.
It is like really scary not having those smiles here around in the neighborhood.
The news cycle has largely moved on, but it's not so easy for the residents.
It's a long recovery process. In the first month, it was like cover the basic needs. But now, this is the reality. You have to face your reality that do not have anything that you used to have to live, to survive. Now we are struggling with ourselves, but also with our mental health.
The water has dried, but she says it left behind PTSD. She explains how it feels.
It is like the emotions are numb. It is like when you have anesthesia and you are barely waking up, this is how we are feeling. We are like colorblind. You can see the color, but we cannot see the colors. We are trying to, but it's really hard.
But Zarate says she also noticed her neighborhood change for good.
The beautiful thing of this is that we become like a family. We holding hands and say, we are together in this. And it is so much loving to see a survivor that is cooking in the backyard for the whole community. Or say, you know what, this is what I have. I share with you and I share with the whole community.
She says the tragedy upended their daily routines, but she sees a gift in that, too.
The life twist, it goes like 365 degrees different from time before, but now we value more life. We value more the sense of how to be alive. It is a gift to be alive.
Witnessing those lives is the gift volunteer Isa Rosales says she brings to Zarate and her neighbors.
You know, she said, I don't want nobody to forget about us. And I said, don't worry, we won't forget about you.
Zarate is just one of more than 1,000 flood victims still figuring out how to survive. Katie Heisen, KPBS News.
There are plenty of great restaurants in San Diego, but one chef has achieved something no other has before. Jacob Ayer visited the executive chef of Who's Up for a prestigious award.
Inside Anime in downtown San Diego, executive chef Tara Luansing Mansud creates a masterpiece.
It's comforting, it's warm, it's satisfying.
With a balance between creativity and care, Luansing Mansud prepares and plates her signature peanut-forward offering.
Kare-kare is a very Filipino dish that was one of the first Filipino items I put on the menu. And the reason it's a big deal is because you don't see Filipino food like this in a setting like this very often.
She's long had a unique blend of skills. Now, Luansing Mansud is the first ever San Diego finalist for the prestigious 2024 James Beard Award, Best Chef California. The rankings began in 1990 and are like the Academy Awards in the culinary industry.
I was overwhelmed, honestly. I didn't really know how to describe how to feel. I think with kind of my mentality, I'm never satisfied. I figured or maybe I have imposter syndrome and be like, how the hell did I get it?
How she got here hasn't been a straightforward journey. The now 40-year-old originally pursued a nursing career until she switched paths in her late 20s to follow her heart, which she wears on her sleeve.
Went to culinary school and I took my first class. I knew I was in the right place.
It was a lot of long days and nights, but she persevered, using inspiration from her father's artistry, mother's work ethic, and most importantly, Filipino roots.
To be great at it, you kind of have to live, breathe it, you know. It does take up a certain part of your brain that doesn't ever go away. Like, I think about food all day, every day. I watch food at home. It's kind of ridiculous.
Since 2021, she served as executive chef at Anime, an upscale Asian fusion restaurant, and is now also headed for a new adventure, executive chef at La Jolla's soon-to-open French steakhouse, Le Coq. There, Luansing Mansud plans to keep trusting her gut and bringing to life the flavors she can taste in her mind.
I used to draw when I was a kid, you know. I guess I'm a product of, I'm just like my dad in that way, except my medium is food. So visually I can see it, and I can see it in my brain, which is really weird.
It's fair to say Luansing Mansud has a lot on her plate right now, but she's taking it in stride and keeping true to her kind, humble self. The 2024 Best Chef California Award winner will be announced June 10th in Chicago. She plans to go and wants to bring her biggest inspirations, her mom and dad, with her.
My mom's going, my dad might go. My dad's a little more stubborn. He's like, I gotta watch the dogs, you know, but he's like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna watch, I'll support you still, you know.
As for the food, it tastes just like the chef drew it. Filled with love, out of the ordinary, and like a home away from home. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The first Robotics World Championship is happening this weekend in Houston, and 9 high school teams from San Diego County are competing. KPBS education reporter MJ Perez is there.
And 3, 2, 1, go!
They say everything's bigger in Texas, and the Steel Stingers of Lincoln High School have come a long way for their big moment with the big robot they designed and built. Less than a year ago, the team members started creating this 125-pound machine made of aluminum, steel, plastic, wires, and zip ties, and a battery-operated motor. They are San Diego County's only rookie team. At the first Robotics World Championships here in Houston, there are more than 600 of the best high school robotics teams in the world at this international competition. They're from 50 countries. The boys and girls from Southeast San Diego are grateful to be representing and collaborating.
My responsibility here is to kind of coach our driver and controller about what's going on in the game so that they can stay focused on driving the robot and I can focus on the strategy and making sure everything goes right.
94-52, the LHS Steel Stingers lining up high there.
Things did go right in the first match of the morning as the Stingers and their other Alliance team members won. Match 2 hit a bump in the road with a head-on collision and a torn cable, leaving them out of power but not out of hope.
We touch the wire again, we're good to go.
What are you feeling?
I'm pretty relaxed. Yeah, nothing. It's a small, minor problem we can fix right now.
FIRST is an acronym that stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology, FIRST. But the mission here is much more than just promoting STEM education and careers. It's about creating community, too.
All for going autonomous.
The Oceanside High School Wild Raccoons are also in the competition, and the Patrobots from Patrick Henry are an established team that has competed since 2017. Their team president is a young woman who carries a commitment to continue including more girls in the STEM community.
It has allowed us to broaden who's on our team, and it has allowed me to feel more confident because when I first joined, there was only 4 girls on the team, and now there's 10.
Among the 50,000 students, mentors, support staff, and family members who have traveled to compete, there is a diversity and inclusion that is intentional.
It's beautiful to be able to see students from different countries working together, different languages, being able to communicate just by understanding that what unites us is the robot.
The Lincoln Steel Stingers are also enjoying the ride.
This is a learning experience for us. We're here to compete and do the best that we can. I always say if you give it your all and you left and you know you give it your all, win or lose, right, that's all you can do.
In Houston, MG Perez, KPBS News.
We hope you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Amitha Sharma. Thank you for joining us.